Good morning, everyone. This is Ron. Sunday morning and a little chilly here in upstate South Carolina, but it's sunny out, so I hope it's shaping up to be a pretty day. On yesterday, we started off with a question Angela asked that was focused more on the shape of religion and the pillars of religion that are crumbling and what that looks like and why that is happening. And we talked about that from the perspective of mainly our concern is uh, having a heart for the people who are have put their faith and their beliefs in what these men have taught them and how that looks to them and where are they to go and how that is even more important makes what we do even more important than we realize and even to the point of being part of that reshaping or renewing of the earth as we go forth every day with the words that travel on the breath that we speak. So we got into that yesterday, and then Pastor gave me permission to, excuse me, to listen to a short video that talked about the I am, and we got into that a good discussion on that, looking at what that means and looking at from the perspective of Exodus chapter 3, and that too was an enlightening thing. And so it led to other discussions, and it even led to another question that Angela asked. And I don't remember her exact question. And we attempted to answer it, and it was a question that when I spoke with Kathy later, Kathy saw it from a different perspective, and I thought it was very enlightening what she saw there. And so, Angela, are you on today? Are
She
you?
will.
She's not.
No, she is on.
Yes, yeah, I'm on.
Okay, Angela. Good morning. How are you doing? Do you remember the second question that you asked? We were talking about the I am.
Yes, I was asking the question about it was relating to me expressing if I'm going within myself and I'm expressing myself as how I feel about this and this and this with going within myself. But I'm trying to think. It was a connection between is that interfering with me saying, the I am? I can see.
Okay,
Oh,
that's okay if you don't remember. It's okay.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well, I remember.
okay. Thanks.
He asked, the question was, how is it, how do I deal with it when I am the I am and I have these different feelings and I'm feeling a certain way and then I admit how I feel. Am I being the I am? That's pretty much what she was asking. So that it, Angela.
yes, that's it.
Okay. Thank you. And Pastor and Barbara, I think, answered her question. And I also uh, like Kathy's input, though. She, after speaking with her afterwards, she had a different take on it, something she heard differently. So, Kathy, are you on right now?
Yes, I'm on. And
Okay.
you rephrased it today because yesterday when Angela asked her question, she was asking about not denying when you're going inside of yourself. And when Pastor answered her yesterday, Pastor looked at it from the physical body, not denying if you're really sick, because he talked about if you're feeling sick or something, you have to remember that it's the body that's sick and not the you that you are that's really sick. And we spent time on that. And so as we were thinking about that and talking about that, I was listening to the way it was asked today, because what we didn't talk about yesterday, it's not so much the physical ailments that may attack my body. that makes me sometimes forget that I am that I am that I am. What happens a lot of times is that our emotions and our feelings that trip us up. And when we talked about yesterday, which we've talked about before, whatever you put behind the I am, that is what you become in that instance. That is where you take the I am that I am. So if I am saying I am sick, I am angry, I am tired, I'm mad, I'm frustrated, I am these things, that's where my I am is at that point. And what I was looking at is that is the thing, in my opinion, that trips us up and causes us to come from a place of balance and understanding who we are as the I am. And we talked about not denying what you may be feeling or not denying the sickness that's going on with the body at that time. So what I really wanted us to focus on and ask my question is today, when the I am, the emotions that I'm feeling, or when it's the feelings that are getting me all bogged down and making me react and respond a certain way, how do we, because we're looking at not denying where we are at a particular point in life when we're faced with circumstances. So my question becomes, what do we do with those feelings and emotions? And we've talked about let's embrace everything and work through it. So it's a two-part question. The other part is, what does embracing really look like? I think as we're cleaning up everything, as we're ending one year and getting ready to go into another year and getting ready to talk about what it means to be 12, 31, 23, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and all of that, I think there's some significance behind having real clarity in moving into another year on what we're supposed to be and who we are, not supposed to be, who we are, and how we approach things that we face. Because I think it's going to be a tumultuous year in that a lot of upheaval is going to happen so that the church can be restructured like it is supposed to be, the first century church. So my question becomes, what do we do with the feelings, and what does it mean to embrace those feelings as we work through them? And I hope that makes sense.
Um,
Sense
yeah.
to me, Kat, because I I mean, you explained it a whole lot good, because we go through a lot of tribulation with our thoughts and be wondering, is we still I am, by going through the feelings that we have. I'm done.
Hey, this is Barbara. Good morning, everybody. Ron asked me a question. I was sifting back through some stuff from years ago that we talked about, and I'm not sure we talked about it in the setting of both of Foundation as well as Greater New Faith. But the way that I kind of try to deal with it is remembering that thoughts and feelings and intuitions and all of those things, those emotions, they're tied to emotions. And when they're tied to emotions, all of those things come from different levels of consciousness. Thoughts come from a different level of consciousness than emotions, than do feelings, etc. They all come from different levels of emotions, and I'm sorry, different levels of consciousness, and so they all have a vibration attached to them as well. And the thing that we have to do is figure out, how do we bring some degree of resonance and to those disparate vibrations, to those different vibrations. Everything we say, how we say it, what we mean by it when we say it, impacts us as well as the divine realm. So all of that has a vibration. So if our speech and our words and the sounds we make don't correspond, then what we have is a mixed vibration, a mixed message, or like a symphony. When they're tuning up, they all might be playing a different note. and that different note might be what they need for that particular instrument to tune it from that particular vibration of that note. But what happens is, how do we bring it together so that when the conductor, when the source, when we set our intent on how this should sound, that it comes out with all of the notes combined. And I know I'm rambling, but I'm trying to get to a point of we're talking about emotions and how to deal with all of that stuff. So if we say, as Kathy indicated, if we say I am tired, that's the discordant. That changes, that makes a difference between saying I am the I am and I am tired, because I am doesn't get tired. And so we have to think about what we say. Everything has to, all we say has to be filtered through the heart itself. And so we have to be conscious of what we say. When I say I feel tired, that's different from saying I am tired. If you see the difference there. If I say I am sick. I am sick. That's different from saying I feel. In other words, to be authentic and true to the I am, express the emotions as you feel them, not as you say I am it. Because by saying I am whatever that emotion is or whatever that feeling is, that sort of discounts or minimizes part of the I am that you say that you are. Because the I am that you are, as part of the womb, doesn't have those kinds of things, doesn't have those kinds of emotions. And so we need to try to express it in that way. And I'll stop here just to see if there are any questions, because when I say I am, I need to think about what I'm experiencing at the moment. And if I'm experiencing, because a lot of people are sick, right? A lot of people feel sick right now. But if they're I am doesn't get sick. So if I express that I feel a headache coming, I feel like I have a headache, I feel sick, that's still being true to acknowledging and embracing what you feel. And at the same time, not discounting the fact that you are I am. So
So
our perceptions of ourselves and what others think of us are not the same as who we really are.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to ask a question. So what you're saying then, what I'm hearing is when I say I am, whatever goes to that, as you and Kathy have already stated, that becomes the reality of it. I have either exalted myself or I've diminished myself to whatever I've taken ownership of. It's mine.
Yes. Yes. Because
So
it is those thoughts and those words and those actions that bring things from the spiritual and manifest in this plane. And if we diminish who we are, we're still manifesting something because we're creators, but we're not being authentic to the I am that we are. So there is a way to embrace the thoughts and the feelings.
mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that they're not there. They're there. That it's part of the human, part of the physical essence of who we are. But it's being mindful that when we say those things, how we say them, and what we say when we say them.
If I can, I want to invite you to go back a little bit, because you taught something and you're right there, and that's Kathy's question I knew would plug in to something that I asked you about yesterday. I remember a couple of things you taught when you did the lesson on 2 Corinthians chapter 6.
Ron,
Yes, sir.
before you go there, please, I want to take you back a bit because I went out. I did not hear everything because I listened. Okay?
I'm sorry, Pastor. You want to back up?
I said I did not hear everything Kathy said because my internet froze.
Okay.
I hate
Kathy.
to take you back that far. I'm sorry.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Kathy, would you please rephrase your question, please?
Yeah, I'll do a briefer version because I said a lot. I basically was saying that based on what Angela had asked yesterday, that we dealt with the physical aspects of it from the physical standpoint of the physical body. And but what I was hearing in her question, we were looking at when you have the emotional ties, when I am that I am gets caught up in the emotions and the feelings, and then you begin to and you don't want to deny it because we've been talking about how do I embrace what I'm going through and go and grow through whatever it is that's happening to me at that time. But basically, how do we deal with the feelings and emotions? Because to me, that is the thing that would derail us from understanding that I am that I am. And so therefore, it is important to not get bogged down in the emotions. And I ask, how do we deal with emotions and feelings? And when we talk about embracing those emotions and feelings, let's explain exactly what that looks like. I think Barbara just did that, but Pastor, I would like your input as well. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah, I heard you. I heard you. I heard what Barbara said, and I do indeed agree with it. I see the whole concept of embracing something is more of a simple acknowledgement, and the acknowledgement that something exists is not an affirmation that asks you that's what you are. And I like the way it was phrased, like when Barbara said, "I feel sick." That is an acknowledgement of a feeling, but it is not an affirmation of who you are. And I think that's a huge difference in that. And that's something that we should be cognizant of all the time because embracing it is when you say, I feel it, that's embracing its existence, but it's not it's not affirming who you are. And that's a huge difference in that. I hope that makes sense.
It does, because by those simple explanations that you and Barbara have given, all it's telling us is that we have to be mindful, like Barbara said, and cognizant of the fact that what we speak, we have to know how to frame what we're about to say. And it will probably take practice and effort to make certain that we understand that the words have power, and I am going where I am. And so therefore it is very important to reframe how we would say it. If someone makes me angry, or if someone frustrates me, or I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired of the news and all of these different emotions that those things will cause inside of me, I now understand how you can embrace those emotions, but what comes out of my mouth, I have to be more cognizant of how I'm going to speak to what I'm seeing, because as a result of what I say, that's where I take I am that I am. And so I'm getting it, and I hope it's clear for everyone else as well. Thank you.
Well, does that not carry us back to something we talked about eons ago, that life and death is in the tongue? So the words that we speak, we take them for granted. And the idea of life and death being in the tongue was taught erroneously before, because it's talking about speaking to existence those things that you want, dealing mostly with the material world, as opposed to understanding that life and death is not talking about bio life, is talking about spiritual life in terms of spiritual awareness, and death is talking about not being spiritually aware. So if we speak in religious terms, then our tongue is speaking death. if we speak in spiritual terms, then our tongue is speaking life. And when we acknowledge that I feel sick, then that's not speaking death, it's speaking life, because you are that spiritual entity whose house feels sick, as opposed to I am sick, which is speaking death, which says that I am spiritually sick or I'm spiritually dead. Those kinds of things make a difference. Therefore, I conclude by saying that we can no longer take for granted the words that come from our mouths. We cannot say things flippantly. We must, even if we have a thought that is contrary to who we are, we must clean that thought up before it passes through. And what I mean by that is this. If I have a thought that is that's saying I am so stupid, I have to clean that up by saying no, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. That's not who I am. And that is a thought process. Why? Because thought is spiritual speech, and just because it is not audible, it does not mean it is not speech. Audibly, that is material speech. That is the speech of the earth. But thoughts are spiritual speech. Therefore, our thoughts and the audible expression of those thoughts, both of those things are extremely important when we are talking about the I am, the I am and the power that I am is. When you acknowledge and become aware of I am and the power of it, the universe responds to you that way. In other words, there is less, if not no mercy, available to you when you speak that, because when you know better, you do better. When you think that, because when you know better, you do better. And if you don't do better, knowing better, then you begin to suffer the consequences of those words or those thoughts that you just let flippantly fly out of your mouth or flow through your mind. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I don't think that, and I know where we're headed in terms of the expression that Ron made earlier about going to being unequally yoked. But I want, as we go into that, I want you to also see that when we make those statements or when we have those thoughts, then what we have done, we have connected ourselves, or we have become yoked to something that is not who we are. The religious things, thoughts, the religious words that we speak, the religious actions are connecting us to something that is unequal, meaning that we are yoked we are making an attempt rather to yoke spirituality with religious concepts. And that does not work. And because that in itself makes us a foul thing and bring us into a state of confusion, and we cannot straddle the fence. For example, if I stand in a congregation and I know what's real in terms of my making expressions about who Jesus is, and let me give you an example. I am the way, the truth, and the life. If I stand in the congregation and say that no man can get to God except through Jesus, because Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and I know that that's not true, I know what the reality of that is, then I have become unequally yoked with religion. And because I have become unequally yoked with it, I know better. So now I'm going to suffer the consequences of knowing better and not doing better, as opposed to the mercy that kept me because I didn't know any better when I didn't know any better. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm done, unless there are questions.
Good morning, everyone. I don't have a question, but I wanted to, just respond, to what Ron mentioned earlier in terms of the two scriptures from Exodus 3:14. And also, Ron, you spoke about the I am sayings of Jesus in the New Testament. And over the period of the year, we have had some discussions about the burning bush experience that Moses had and the memorial in terms of the name I am that, Elohim, God, spoke of. And looking at the 7 I am sayings of Jesus, it's all relevant in terms of the power of the I am that I am. And in looking at this, I wanted to just speak briefly in terms of the mind, body, spirit when we talk about our soul. And so in the physical manifestations, when we talk about I am feeling sick. Now, in the past or whatever, we may say I have a headache. And I think that the words that we speak and how we say it, as Kathy mentioned earlier, is so important because we say, I have a headache. And then the first thing we do is we take medication. And I've come to the point where there's a time that medication has its purpose, but then there's a time that we have to tap into who we are, the power that we have, where we can begin to meditate in terms of that sacred wisdom and unity to be able to know how to relieve ourselves of the physical thought of how we do things and look at it from the spiritual. And again, I think all of us grow through our experiences in terms of the I amness that we are, but I'm so grateful that we can understand our true self and being able to meditate, being able to pray and relieve ourselves from the emotions, from the tensions, from the clutter, from all of the things that may want us to pick up something that would soothe our pain, but the pain is not continuously wanting to take medication, but to be able to be still and know that I am Elohim.
Yeah.
So as we talk about, the power of I am, it reflects in what Barbara mentioned earlier about manifestation. I don't want to go into the number 5, which is what Linda has spoke about yesterday in terms of me looking into, and maybe later on we can look at that. But I think it refers to all what has been said already and us being able to appreciate the sacred wisdom of the I am sayings in which we're speaking about right now. So I just wanted to, share those thoughts because without a doubt, it has significant to our spiritual awareness and our desire to create, to be the creator that we are, and to see the manifestations, of our desires. So I just wanted to share those thoughts, just as a point of reference to the scriptures that you spoke about yesterday, Ron, and Pastor, gave us a more esoteric understanding of it. I'm done.
Thank you, George. I agree with everything that's been said. This has been a beautiful discussion so far, but I want to expound on something you said, George, and take it a little further. If I can use this as an example, I hope this is a good example. I sit down as a kid and I watch sports and I see guys running touchdowns and doing all these wonderful things on the athletic fields of sports. And I say, I like that. I want to be like that. And so I set my mind to say, okay, I need to get in shape. This is what I want to do. And I go out there and next thing I know, I'm huffing and puffing and like, oh my God, what's going on? It has to dawn on me that this is what you created. Your desire to get to that place created this. You don't get there without being this. So part of your commitment to being an athlete is the work. The work is the part people don't see. We see the passes, we see the catches, we see the dunks, but we don't see the journey to get there. And what we are discussing is the journey. And the journey is what we have set out. So these things that we discuss and are talking about is part of the journey and part of the motion that we set. So I'm looking at chapter 6, and it made me go back to Isaiah of 2 Corinthians. It talks about the acceptable time and the day of salvation. Acceptable talks about to delight in or to desire. All of this is stuff that we put in motion. So, for example, another example, or a different example is, there are times I get to work and it may have been hectic the day before, and I sit there in my car and I breathe and I say, you know what? Yesterday is gone. Whatever happens today happens. You're going to be okay. You were okay yesterday. You just weren't mentally prepared. But once you got there, you're okay. So today you're going to go in a bit different. And you go in and the events that happen may be quite the same, but you walk out feeling different. And you say, you know what? This wasn't a bad day. It was the same day you had yesterday, but you approach it differently. So the tools are there. Who we are there. It is a part of the journey. And the reason why I phoned Barbara yesterday and asked her to refamiliarize herself with this scripture. We studied this some time ago, and a lot of what we studied some time ago, we're back at that place. It's almost like Abraham returning to some of the places he came to, or some of the wells or some of the monuments. He comes as a different person. He doesn't come as the same person. He comes with a lesson learned and more experience. So when he returns to that place, he sees it from a different perspective. So all of these feelings and emotions are part of our history. They're part of our experiences. And yeah, sometimes they take us in a direction, but that's not where we have to stay. So as all of this being part of the journey says to me, there's nothing that happens that will overwhelm us. And that is the thing that I guess that holds me together. There's nothing that's going to overwhelm us, but that's why I like 2 Corinthians. But if hope what I said made sense, and if somebody can help me out with this, make it clearer, please do so.
Yeah, Ron, I just want to say, you know, there's 3 virtues of thoughts, of words that we speak, that we use, that we come to understand, and our actions. And so as the I am that I am the creator that create the thoughts, that create the things. So when you were speaking in reference to athleticism, you know, again, it's the proof of desire, you know, in terms of in what we are pursuing. The proof of desire is in the pursuit. So
Right.
when we talk about the I amness that we are, and we talk about the vibration, or we talk about the energy that these sessions, spiritual sessions or studies empower us, is like being able to listen, as someone mentioned, in terms of a symphony. You know, there's 963 hertz that talks about, that arises a sense of oneness and unity. That's where we are.
Yeah.
You know, that's our desire. And so this is why we're able to appreciate when Pastor says that we don't have to regurgitate everything, that we hear, just absorb the energy. Energy flows as our attention goes. And so again, in terms of just the metaphors or just the way we see it, not with our eyes, but with our eye, we're coming into an awareness of sacred wisdom and teachings and unity that we're able to, appreciate what you are teaching and what all of the teachers and everyone that's on the call, because it's all one. And as we tap into this oneness, we'll begin to see the manifestations, of our desires. We'll see that again, we can do all things through Christ who strengthened us. We talked about Christ yesterday, and we know that Christ means the anointing. So if the anointing is in all of us, then our desire is to love and give the anointing that is in us. That's what's manifesting. So I just wanted to, again, respond, Ron, to these virtues that, is being taught, because again, it's our thoughts and our creation. Again, thank you for letting me share those thoughts.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you, George.
I was listening to George when you talk about the Christ. I want to expand on that a little bit, if I may. We've talked about the Christ is the anointing. However, the question becomes, what is the anointing? And I see that in the same vein that Catherine raised the question, what does embracing look like? Because we use words and terminologies, and we've used them for years, but do we understand them to the extent that we are able to see them? For example, when we talk about the Christ and we talk about the anointing, that is true, and it goes beyond that, because the question becomes, what is anointing? What is the purpose of it? What does it look like? So when we talk about I am, and we see that I am is the life source, that is the bridge between this earth and enlightenment itself, then the anointing itself is an expression. It is an awareness of the power of I am, and an expression of it. If you are aware of who you are, meaning that you are aware of the power of I am, and you are expressive of that, then what you are expressing is the power of the anointing itself. The idea of anointing comes from the empowerment of the king. When we look in the Old Testament and we talk about, and we see rather, where a king was anointed, or a king was granted the power to rule over the people of Israel, this is not talking about a physical king who is ruling over a physical kingdom. This is talking about it's talking about spiritual leadership that is guiding those who are in search of becoming aware of who they are in terms of being divine entities. So when we look at this idea of the anointing, it has nothing to do with healing a sick body. It has everything to do with healing an unaware or a sick soul. It has everything to do with guiding those who are in search of who they are to a place of understanding that they are the essence of the Creator that brought everything into existence. What do I mean by that? I am not simply talking about bringing an awareness to the people who are on this journey with us. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about bringing an awareness to humanity as a whole. It is not enough to bring an awareness of the anointing is, or I am is, to the people on this line, without understanding that it goes far beyond the people on this line. The expression of embracing who we are, it may be different, but it has the same results. The people who were influenced by our desires, who were engaged in what happened with George Floyd, were just as effective, even though they did not know where the influences came from. They were effective in changing the mindset of those who watched them and those who bought into what they were doing. It emanated from the place of being on this line, or within this group of people, but it did not stay with this group of people. It is imperative that we understand that our embracing of who we really are goes far beyond the places that we occupy. It is not imperative that we understand all of it, or as George stated earlier, are able to regurgitate it. If it resonates with you, hold on to that. You don't have to be able to repeat it. You don't have to be able to explain it. You don't have to be able to even remember it. As long as when it resonates with you, you embrace it. And once you do that, you become a light. And what I'm saying is this: a light that's put in a room does not benefit just the people in that room. The light benefits everyone who comes into that room. So everyone who comes to a place of desire that there is something better. I'm desiring something better than what I have been exposed to. I'm desiring something better than what I see around me. They have entered the room where the light is, and they benefit from that light that's in that room. They may not know the source of the light, but it doesn't matter. The light itself knows its source, but it is there for the benefit of those who don't even care about the source of it, but they are influenced by that light. And that is what brings about change. Right now, when we are looking at what's going on, it looks as though everything is chaotic, but it is not. It is being influenced by the light, because there are so many people who are no longer embracing this BS about anti-Semitism. What they are actually saying is there is a better way, and what's happening is wrong. You have no regard for life whatsoever. And in saying that, what's happening is they are being influenced by the light in this invisible room, the room that we cannot see with our eyes, the room that was not built with hands, but the room is the room where people are making a decision that they desire change. And this thing that appears to be chaotic is not chaotic at all. If you think about it in terms of a physical house, if you are going to deconstruct that house, you don't deconstruct it by tearing down the foundation first. You take the roof off, and then you take it apart in increments, so that when you get down to the foundation, it has been taken apart in an orderly manner, even though there are those who may look at it and think that it's chaotic. If the system was destroyed from the foundation up, then the people within the system would be destroyed as well. There is an orderly dismantling of the system that's taking place now, and that orderly dismantling of the system does have casualties, but it is effective in that it is inclusive. It is bringing about the change that those who have a mindset, a desire for change, and they are pursuing it by the actions that they are carrying out. And we see those actions on college campuses. We see those actions being manifested in different ways around the world. And when we recognize what it is and speak to it, then the words of I am has the power to not only affect that, but has the power to strengthen it so that it can bring about a change in a more rapid way and bring about a change in a more orderly way. And in doing so, it minimizes the casualties that are along the way. However, if we are sitting on the sideline saying that I know that I am, and our speech is different or our thoughts is different, then the universe is getting mixed signals from us. And that prolongs the problems that we are seeing, that we are acknowledging, that we desire to change. However, when we get our speech right, when we get our thoughts right, then we become, as Ron said earlier, Abraham when he passed his way. When the stones were laid there for future generations to pass his way, suppose that the future generation is Abraham, meaning that these stones have been laid there, and when we pass by them again, we see different things because we are a different generation than what we were when we first started this journey. A spiritual generation is not about how many years it takes for someone to grow into this physical body. A spiritual generation is a generation that changes as it travels this journey, meaning that we see more now than we have ever seen before. And when we cross the bridge into the year that is coming, then we become another generation. And as we pass by this way where the stones have been laid to get our attention, to remind us, what do? The stones that have been laid are the very things that we have talked about, that we are returning to. We have talked about I am. We have talked about being Elohim. We have talked about the I am concepts. All of these things we talked about, these are the stones that the generations before us laid, and we are that generation before the generation that we are now. I hope that makes sense. If there are questions or comments, I see what I'm making every attempt to say, and I hope that I'm able to articulate it in a manner that either it resonates with you, or you are understanding it, or it raises questions within you. I'm done.
Yeah, yeah. What you said was so profound, so powerful. I want to go back over part of it, and I have a question. I like the analogy of tearing down the house. You don't utterly just destroy. You don't throw a bomb in it because you destroy everybody that's in it, and this tearing the system down. This thing does not happen the way we maybe have seen in our minds that we would like it to happen. I think it should happen, but it happens in an orderly way. You tear the house down so when you get to the foundation, it is intact, and you can rebuild from there. I really like that. I could see that and kind of put that into perspective of everything that I see happening around us. The part that I bogged down on, though, the mixed signals, being the I am, in that regard, start there again and say that one more time for me, when you went over that portion of it.
When I'm talking about the mixed signal, I'm saying that if I am, I know who I am. I am is not an entity. I am is the power of that entity. So when I speak disparagingly about people and assign these negative attributes to people, as opposed to understanding that it is energy that's going awry, then I am not being expressive of who I know I am. And the universe responds to that accordingly, meaning that the universe stands still and allows the chaos to continue, or allows the problem to proceed. However, when I'm recognizing what this means, when I talk about the power of I am, then I speak differently about it. I don't speak disparagingly, or I don't assign negative actions to Donald Trump. I don't do it that way, because when I do it that way, I minimize the danger there, and at the same time, I present an image of an individual that convinces people if this individual is out of the way, then everything changes. That is not true. However, when I recognize that this is energy going awry, and this energy is being manifested through a Donald Trump, then it is not about removing a Donald Trump. It is about repurposing the energy. And the repurposing of the energy is done when we recognize that we have constructed a spiritual room for everyone to occupy. And when we recognize that we are the light in that room, and when we see the positivity, when we see, and I use that word loosely, when we see the positivity of the attitudes of people changing because they want more, because they know that there's something better than what we are experiencing, then it is at that time that we begin to see that our speech has changed, because our speech is no longer attributing anything to a Mitch McConnell or Donald Trump. It is saying that there are manifestations of this energy that's going awry, and it is necessary that we recognize that, and we are the one who repurposes that energy, not simply by soothing the soul of Donald Trump, but by speaking to those things, those manifestations that need to be altered, those systems that need to be need to be built in such a manner that they benefit humanity. So what I'm saying in essence, Ron, is that we have to look beyond the individual and see the energy that's involved. Just like we look beyond the man or the woman when we talk about feminine energy and masculine energy, we must look beyond the individual when we talk about the chaos that is destroying the lives of children and women in particular in the Gaza Strip. It is not Netanyahu, it is the energy that must be repurposed, because Netanyahu is simply a manifestation of that energy that has been in this earth for eons and has been effective in the destruction of this earth ever since this energy came in contact with the energy of righteousness. It has sought to dominate it, and the Creator has allowed that to happen so that the energy of righteousness can become what it was destined to become. And that is Elohim in the midst of this earth, bringing this earth to a place of righteousness, so that the entities that were brought into this earth by Elohim can be as Elohim is. And without that chaos, without that energy going awry, there would be no substance for creation in this earth. Therefore, the ultimate goal is to create in the image and likeness of righteousness, and that image and likeness of righteousness comes into existence when this energy of that's going awry has been repurposed and reshaped, so that it can become the righteousness as well. Which means that there are no there are no unrighteous people. There is energy that's being used in an unrighteous way. Does that make sense?
I got you. Yes. Questions, anyone?
I have
Comment?
a question. I
Yes,
have a
ma'am.
question. This is Evelyn. So, Pastor, you're saying that's why we were sent here in this earth, to change the energy, to transform the energy?
Yes, I am saying the whole purpose for our creation is not just for us to be sent into the earth to do that. Our whole purpose is to be as Elohim is totally. And in order for us to be as Elohim is totally, we have to create in our image and likeness. And the image and likeness of Elohim is righteousness, is peace, is loving kindness, is balance, is all of those things we talk about. And Elohim, the one who created us, is not going to do that. We have the power to do that. And what we are, when we talk about the I am understandings or concepts, what we are acknowledging is that we are the power that is capable of creating in our image and likeness. But we have been tested when it came to that. We have recoiled from doing that because we are afraid of this thing called race. This has nothing to do with race. Race is being used to keep us from doing what we are destined to do. When we look beyond race and start recoiling because we're afraid of somebody who don't look like us, we're afraid of people who have sought to destroy this earth and us. When we stop being afraid of that, we began to see the righteousness of the concept. And then we began to see that the browning of America has nothing to do with race. The browning of the earth has nothing to do with race. Righteousness in the earth has everything to do with creating in our image and likeness. And creating in our image and likeness does not mean that everyone is going to physically look like me, but they're going to be spiritually as I am. Does that make sense?
It does, and I appreciate you making us mindful about the energy, that we're energy, and we can't look at the body because really that's just a vehicle for us being here in the earth. But thank you for that, for reminding me about that. So when I see the chaotic stuff that's going on, just remember that it's all unright energy, and that we're here to transform that. But thank you, appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you. See, when we buy into this thing you're playing the race card, when we buy into things like that, what we are doing is perpetuating chaos. We are prolonging the activity that is necessary for us to manifest righteousness in the earth. When we look beyond that and see it for what it is, a distraction, a distraction without power, a tiger without teeth. When we see what it really is, then we begin to bring into existence the as above, so is below. That is what we are destined to do. And when we bring that into existence, then we will be able at that juncture to begin to see the manifested balance, just like now we are seeing the manifestation of the dismantling of a system that has a system that is global, a global system that has been put in place not to destroy us, not to enslave us, but a system that has been put in place as the substance that is necessary for us to use in order for us to be the totality of the essence of Elohim. That cannot be unless we create in our image and likeness. And we have bought into a European concept that creating our image and likeness means that we are creating everybody to look like us. That is ignorant. That has no merit, that has no spiritual roots, that only have the roots of human desires to dominate other humans. And we cannot buy into that. Every single time that we accuse Donald Trump of doing something, Donald Trump of being a racist, we are buying into the system that seeks to destroy the earth. We cannot do that. We can no longer attribute these attitudes to an individual. We must recognize it as a global energy force that must be reconciled by the forces of righteousness. You cannot create, nor can you destroy energy. Therefore, the energy of unrighteousness will never be destroyed. It must be repurposed for righteousness' sake. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It does. Can I say one more thing? I can deal with situations I see now because you said it's all about the energy. Because if you look at a person or people in general, it makes it personal when someone offends you or whatever. So thank you. I can deal with stuff better, even better. Well, more. I can deal with stuff better now since you put that out there. It's about the energy and not that person. So thank you, or people say that. Okay, but yeah, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
It looks like when we deal with the person or the people, it allows the ego to get involved and potentially become dominant. And so the ego drives our thinking rather than being subject to the soul. So
Yeah.
the I am is always present tense. It is what I am right in the moment. And so it's almost like that I am is in a way, it speaks to the power of who we are, but it also helps us to buy time from the physical perspective. Because if I have to stop and I say I am, and then it kicks in that I realize that I am the power because I am part of the source of the universe, then it makes me reflect on, well, okay, what am I going to say next? I can say I'm angry, and sometimes I am. I feel angry. Not I am. I feel angry because of everything that's going on. But when I say I am, I can feel that anger, acknowledge that emotion, but also at the same time, I am peace, I am joy, I am love, and that will prevail. And that is what prevails. So that's how I resolve embracing something, embracing my feelings, but also resolving that regardless of the feelings I have, regardless of any of that stuff, this is the truth. And that's what the I am does. I am creates the space so that I can pull from infinite wisdom rather than pulling from the limited limitations of my ego, if that resonates.
It does. It does.
So I can't get into if only. Go ahead, Pastor.
Go ahead, Barbara.
So I can't get into if onlys and what ifs and yes buts, because all of that, it ties me to a past.
Yeah.
I am is present. I can't get into what if. That kind of pushes me in the future where I begin to make up stuff that could happen. I can't do that.
You create.
I am keeps me in the present. It helps keep me in the present, and it helps me deal with the energies that are around me as I am, and repurpose them right now in the present.
And Barbara, may I add something to what you just said, because I see clearly what you're saying. When you think about when Jesus, I can't remember who he was telling the disciples or someone, when he said, tell them that I am sent you. He didn't say, tell them the I am sent you. He said, tell them that I am sent you. So when you put that I am, that second I am to me, that I am is the right now that you're speaking of. That keeps me in the present, because he didn't qualify it with the I am. He said, tell them I am that I am. And I don't see it clearly 100% yet, but I think it ties into what you just said, because I am that I am keeps me in the present state of mind that I am 24/7. Every day of the week, I am that I am. In every situation that I find myself in, I am that I am. And if I can just hold on to that and not let go of that thought, then it keeps me in the here and now, in the present. And how we've said it is, I am whatever you need me to be when you need me to be it. But that is also, I am that I am, if that makes sense. And I just wanted to add that. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. That resonates.
Just
I am that I am. When we say that, and we saying that I am what you need me to be when you need me to be it, the be is you. You are the I am to you that you needed to be when you needed to be. Does that make sense? It's not just
Yes.
talking about I am to you,
Yes.
to someone else.
Yes.
I am, it's you. And then when we look at it that way, that the I am of it all is saying that when you embrace that, I am everything that I need to be to me when I need to be it, and that keeps me from being unequally yoked to lawlessness. When I say that Trump is the problem, I am unequally yoked to the lawlessness, to the unrighteousness in the earth, because I am connecting myself to an individual who is manifesting an energy that I am slated to transform into righteousness. And I cannot do that if I am seeing an individual and connecting myself to that individual by blaming that individual for what's going on, as opposed to seeing with my eye. And that's the only way I can see the energy instead of seeing the individual. When I say the individual, I'm no longer seeing with my eye. I'm seeing with my eyes. And my eye is blinded at that moment. And I am, the power of me is no longer available to bring about a manifestation of change. I'm seeking it now through the rudiments of this society. I'm seeking it through the politics. I'm seeking it through the ballot box. But when I recognize that it is not a Donald, it is not a Biden, it is the energy, my eye then is one with the universe. We are in rhythm, and now we are bringing light to this invisible room so that this power can not only resonate with humanity, but can also manifest the change that's necessary for humanity to continue its righteous existence. I'm done.
Say it.
I sort of have a supposition to look at. What is known and what is unknown is not the same energy. It's not the same thing. So what I'm hearing and what we're experiencing, I am, is the power that moves the earth. So when you move into these, well, this is the supposition that's supposed, when we move into these places where it's a but, a maybe, or the anxiety closes in and you start looking at the individual, is that you're the person who is, that can see the known, is lowering himself or herself to the place of someone who is unknown. So that the unknown in the earth that we have feared and has quote unquote ruled things may have all the time in its own way been riding the back of the energy of the African. And the energy of the African has been fear and anxiety and helplessness. So as you learn who you are, you elevate that. And that is part of what takes away the fear. If that makes sense to you. I don't know if it does or not.
What is the unknown? What is the unknown? The unknown is the unknowing. And the unknowing is the energy that brings about destruction. If they had known who they were crucifying, they never would have done it. If you were aware of the energy that's available to you that brings about balance in the earth, would you pursue an energy of destruction? It is the ignorance that brings about destruction. It is the not knowing of who you are that does that. And when we create in our image and likeness, It is bringing a knowing to that which is unknown to those who are representing that energy source of destruction. The energy source of destruction is being manifested, and the manifestation of it is seen by our physical eyes, but we can't deal with it with our physical eyes. We have to deal with it with our spiritual eye. And when we do that, what we recognize is hate is not going to repurpose energy. And when we recognize the repurpose of the energy, what do we see? We begin to see with our eye that the fear that we have been projecting, as Ron said, as Africans, is the fear that has been projected to us. And the fear that's being projected to us is a fear that it will not be able to control any longer. And the control has been kept intact because that projected fear has been embraced by the African, by the one who is to bring righteousness into the earth. And now that projected fear is no longer, has no power anymore because of the I am that we embraced. It is now that we are able to bring to a place of knowing those entities that have been the purveyors of destruction, have been the source of greed and destruction in the earth. It is imperative that we recognize this and we deafen our ears to hearing of all of these racial tropes that are out there, and only hear what the Creator is saying, only hear what the universe is speaking to us. And the universe is saying to us, do not be unequally yoked to unrighteousness. Do not be unequally yoked to lawlessness. Do not be unequally yoked to racism. Do not be unequally yoked to greed. And the way you are not unequally yoked to it is not so much by you saying what you are not as it is saying what you are. I am that I am. I am everything I need to be when I need to recognize that I am not yoked with greed. I am not yoked with unrighteousness. I recognize that greed is something that does not exist. It is an illusion that brings mankind to a place of hopelessness. A racism is an illusion that brings humanity to a place of hopelessness. I am not yoked to that any longer. And because I am I'm no longer yoked to that unequal thing, I am now able to birth into this earth what? I'm able to birth righteousness to the extent that it begins to change the energy of greed, the illusion rather of greed and the illusion of racism. And when the illusion begins to change, we see things like the people who look like, who say that they are Jewish, they are still saying anti-Semitism doesn't exist. This is not anti-Semitism. These people, the color of their skin, their belief systems have not changed, but their attitude towards destruction has changed. Their attitude towards racism has changed. They don't look like the African, but their attitude is spiritual now. And that is what the power is. I am is strong enough, is powerful enough to do that only if we believe it. If we don't believe it, if we don't believe it, we don't act like it. When we believe it and act like it, that is when we begin to see the illusions come to an end. It does not change. It does not change the skin tone. It does not change the belief systems. But what it does change is the relationship between mankind based upon the reality that all of us are of one blood. And the one blood that we are of is the blood of Akebalon. And the blood of Akebalon is a blood of righteousness. And because that it is the blood of Akebalon, there is a spark of righteousness in every man. It doesn't matter how small the amount of melanin is in you, there is a spark of melanin there. And because of that spark, we have the power to make that spark a raging fire. We can, right now, it is ablaze. We have the power in this coming year to make it a raging fire. And that raging fire will not burn to destroy anything. It will purify everything. It burns the dross off of the gold so that the gold can be pure. Pure gold is translucent. You can see through pure gold. Pure gold is not gold in color. When the fire is raging and it burns to the extent that it reduces all of the rubble to another type of energy for the benefit of humanity, it is then that we begin to see beyond the color of the skin, and we can reverse what took place in the 1700s when this whole idea of race came into being. We can reverse what took place when the European came in contact with the inhabitants of Arcabilon. We can reverse that. All of these contacts that brought about this illusion were allowed by the one who created us so we can be as our creator is. And once we are able to truly embrace that reality, as opposed to seeing ourselves as victims, it is then that we are able to be as we were created, as opposed to being unequally yoked to those things that keep us blind to what truth really is. I'm done. Questions, comments?
That's powerful. You're just simply reminding us of what "as above, so below" means. That when we embrace when we understand the I am that we are, that pathway is completely open. And what happens? We can govern not only ourselves, excuse me, but the cosmos itself. We continually draw from the universe as well. So as above, so below. It becomes more than just words on a paper. It becomes a manifestation of godliness, of that power from the source into this physical realm, so that we begin to even see the difference.
And we cannot look to any source searching for power, waiting for something to come to us. Everything that we need, we are already. It's not that we have it. We are everything that's needed to rebalance the earth. Everything that's needed to bring into existence the reality of righteousness in this earth. When we meditate, we are not receiving from the universe. We are not receiving from any source whatsoever. We are becoming aware of who we are. We are becoming aware of what the source has already created. We are becoming aware of the rhythm of the universe. The symphony cannot play, the ears do not receive the music from the symphony if they are out of tune. If they are not in rhythm, it doesn't come off well. It doesn't sound right. It becomes noise as opposed to music. And right now, when we are in rhythm with the universe, it becomes creative power as opposed to destruction and confusion. It becomes order. It becomes everything that's necessary for us to embrace the reality of our existence. I'm done. Questions, comments?
Yeah, this is Angela. I got a question. So everything that when you're looking at spirit, everything that we are experiencing now, we already done experience it. So we are the I am. But I'm just saying, when you look at it from a spiritual thing, that everything, there's nothing new. The spirit is already in the spirit, just leading us to see who we are, and in that way.
Yes, Angela, we are the spirit.
Okay.
Go ahead, someone. Was someone about to say something? We are the spirit.
I
We-
couldn't get it. I'm sorry. I couldn't get it. I had a thought in my mind, but I had lost the thought, but I didn't explain it the way that it came out. That's not the way that I was trying to explain it.
Well, try it again, Steve. Try it again. Do it again.
I was saying that, well, basically, there's nothing new to what we're experiencing now. We already have experienced it.
Yes, there's nothing new under the sun, right? We are already everything that we are is everything that's needed to be who we are. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And is that how the question is being raised? If someone hears something more into that, please speak up. See, awareness is not a thought process. Awareness is an experience. You can think about being a doctor or an athlete, as Ron was talking about earlier. You can think about that. But until you become aware of what it is to be that, then you will never act like that. I'm aware of what it takes to be an athlete. What does it take to be an athlete? I must be honest with myself. My body must be conditioned in a certain way. I'm aware of that. I'm aware that when my body is conditioned in a certain way, that would determine whether I am whether I'm an athlete in terms of being a football player or whether I am a track star, because the training for each is different. So if I am aware that I am, then what do I need to do with that awareness? What does I am look like? Are there things that I need to do in order for me to be I am? Yes, it is. What must I do? Change the way you think, change the way you speak, alter the way you deal with yourself, and then you will alter the way you deal with other people. You cannot sit there and look at the news and get angry about what you are seeing, because that is not reality. That is illusionary. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
And thank you. And I'm asking this question to everyone. If there is, please raise your questions, make your comments, because I know there's more to what I am seeing than what I am saying. And I'm very much aware that I am not the only one who is being shown stuff here today. I know that there are other aspects of this journey that others are being shown, and I relish the opportunity to hear from you.
One of the things that again I like about 2 Corinthians, I think it kind of sums something up. I'm gonna start in verse 3 in chapter 6. It says, giving no cause for offense in anything, in order that the ministry be not discredited, but in everything condemning ourselves as servants of God, in much endurance, in affliction, in hardship, in distress, in beatings, and imprisonment, and turmoil, and in labor, in sleeplessness, and hunger, and it goes on. In other words, things are going to happen, and they're going to be time that you question who you are and what you're going through, and I like the way Barbara put it earlier. Those feelings and emotions are coming from a different place of consciousness. So in this and but these things.
Ron, back up. We didn't hear you. You said different place of consciousness, then you went out.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess what I'm saying is these things that we label as hardship is a part of the journey. It is a part of the journey. And just like as we were saying when we were using Abraham as an example, we're returning to these things because we are at a different place of consciousness. And the energy is different. The energy is at a higher frequency. So as we move and as we elevate, we move into other things. But the other place that we move will also have the afflictions. It will also have heartache. But all of it is part of what takes us to the next place. And a lot of what we're enduring, we forget sometimes that we have each other to rely on. So, you know, just looking at this as part of the journey of gathering ourselves and the mindfulness that we talked about, the whole objective is to be soulful. That's the I am part, is to being soulful and recognizing when I understand and recognize that I am at the place where I can pull all of this together. I can bring myself into submission, and these things are still going to come, but I deal with them from a different place. I hope that made sense.
It does. I'm done.
Hey, Real.
Yes, sir.
I see it as when it's in the Bible where when it's hard for me to put it out in words. It's just like we see the problem, or we see what Congress and all is doing, but God knows that you're going to see it physically or what they're doing and stuff, but we can't see beyond what is going on. So that's what God is saying. We're seeing it physically. He's trying to get us to look at it with a spiritual eye. And when you receive it in that way, that means you can't battle with it by hand or sword or gun or whatever. It's a principality. It's what's doing these things, and we have to see it in that way. And we hadn't seen it yet in that. I mean, we had to look to the Spirit of God and look and see it that way. We've been seeing it in the physical way, and the physical way is been hurting us, stopping us from doing what we're supposed to do spiritually. That's how I see it, and I hope Rev can straighten it. What I'm saying,
Charles, we've been looking for God to show us, and the God that we've been looking for to show us is the God that was created by the church, the God that's external of us, the God that's separate from us, the God that we talk about being with when we leave these bodies. That is not the God who is expecting anything from us. The God, the Elohim, that's expecting everything from us is us. The spiritual essence of who we are is the guiding force. We've always had glimpses of who we are, but we've never taken the time to be still long enough to see it clearly. We have always had opportunities to see the burning bush, but we were moving too fast and we were so caught up in so many other things until we ignored the burning bush. We expected it to burn itself out as opposed to being burning and not being consumed. So the idea of God telling us something is foreign to the scriptures. We are the God who already have been told. We are the ones who are to guide humanity. There is no God who sits on a throne separate from us. There is no God that we are going to when we leave these bodies. That if we do not accept what the scripture says about, I say that ye are Elohim, I say you are gods, one yet many. If we do not accept that, if our language does not reflect what we accept from the scriptures, then we are not in rhythm with the universe. When I talk about sending mixed signals to the universe, what I am saying in essence is that when we say things like that, we are not in rhythm with the universe. And when we are not in rhythm with the universe, we are not able to bring about the change in this earth that is necessary for as above, so is below. Does that make sense? And it's not
Yes,
just,
you make.
thank you, Charles. But it's not just
Thank
racism.
Okay. I, 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 I apologize. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to part of, because I missed probably the last 15, 20 minutes. I'm not feeling well, and I'm gonna sign off. But before I go, I want to mention Linda had a question on the table, and she asked about the numbers, and I didn't know if George was prepared, if he'd like to address her question. I'd appreciate it. Linda, are you on today? Okay. Well, I don't know if you want to answer it now. You want to wait till another time, maybe she'll be on tomorrow. But
I think she's online. She's always on mute trying to talk.
okay, okay,
I'm on, Kathy.
okay. Well, if you don't mind, I turn it over to George and let George answer your question for you. Okay.
Yeah, again,
Thank
good
you, guys.
afternoon, and again, I'm grateful just to have the opportunity to share my thoughts in reference to Linda bringing up, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3. And when I say that, we're actually talking about today's date, December the 31st, 2023. And when we look at those numbers from a spiritual perspective, if we add up those numbers, it gives us the number 14. And in terms of the spiritual meaning or the ruling number of 14, it's 1 plus 4 gives us 5. And so the spiritual meaning of the number 5 is manifestation, which we discussed today very frequently in reference to the manifestations of I am, etc. But the number 5 is the number of the 5 elements of the earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And those 5 elements is the components of being able to see the manifestations of creative manifestation. What is being created. And this is all through these elements. But what's very significant is the essence of the number 5 aligns to freedom. To feel the freedom to pursue that which fills your heart with purpose, joy, and bliss. But when we talk about it in terms of I am the universe and the universe is me, it speaks of the synergy of the forces of nature. And so to look at the number 5, it gives us the bottom line that we can appreciate the importance of the manifestations of our desires. And I think that all that have been expressed today, opens the portal. It opens the doorway as we move from 2023 into 2024. it's that opportunity, that divine vibration, that divine frequency, that divine connection that propels us to move into the truth. And one last profound statement I just like to be able to share is that if the truth makes you uncomfortable, don't blame the truth. Blame the lie that made you comfortable. And so when we come to that awareness, when we come to that knowledge of the truth, that I am Elohim, then we can appreciate not only who we are, but the lies that we were told who we are not. So I just wanted to sum up, and answer that question that Linda brought up to me, and hopefully that resonates with you all. But if there's any questions or comments, we can deal with it now, or we can deal with it on another day. But Linda, hopefully that helps you or helps us to be able to appreciate what the spiritual meaning of the number 5 represents. I'm done, unless there's any questions.
George, can you just say that again? If the truth makes you
If
feel
the truth,
uncomfortable.
if the truth makes you uncomfortable, don't blame the truth. Blame the lie that made you comfortable.
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
No, thank you.
What I'm hearing, George, I think that what you just presented came at the right place at the right time. Why? Because the whole concept where most of what we talked about today is manifestation. And what you have expressed to us is the primary meaning of what the question that Linda raised, or the response to that, is manifestation. And that says to me that where we are is in a place where we will begin to see manifested truth and manifested righteousness, manifested reality as we move into this incoming year. Manifestation, it doesn't mean to me anyway that manifestation is at the end of this period, but manifestation is the beginning of the next part of our journey. And I do not believe for a moment that that question came from flesh and blood. Neither do I believe the response came from that. Neither do I believe the discussion was flesh and blood. I believe all of this is spiritual, and the punctuation to everything that we've talked about started with the question from that Linda raised yesterday. And that punctuation is, be prepared for the manifestation of the desires that we have acknowledged. And those manifestations are to be seen both with eyes as well as eye. So do not miss the signs of the times. Stay focused and do not get caught up in the illusions that we have been caught up in the past. I'm done. Thank you. And George is with you. Do you have anything else to present to us or any questions? You're muted, George.
Yeah, no, Pastor, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Linda?
I can answer this time, yes. Thank you, George. That helped out a lot because I could see that it was something in there, and you brought it to where I can understand it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Yes, this is Angela. I just wanted to say this. When you was a few minutes ago when you was discussing the burning bush, I'm not explaining it, but this is somebody say something? Oh. I said when we was discussing the burning bush, when you was talking about the burning bush a few minutes ago. I'm not explaining, but this is what I heard. The the spirit is aware of the body, but not the body of the spirit.
Say
So I
again.
just
Nick.
wrote down what
Say that
Huh?
again. Say that again.
spirit is aware of the body, but not the body of the spirit.
You're saying spirit is aware of the body, but the body is not aware of spirit.
Yeah, spirit is aware of the body, but not the body of the spirit. I mean,
Okay.
that's what came. I'm
I
just
got you.
yeah.
I can see that. The body doesn't know who it is, but the spirit knows who it is. And it
Yeah.
recognizes the body as a vehicle in this earth, as opposed to being who we are. I can see that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Questions or comments about what Andrew said or anything else? I am extremely grateful that the Creator has granted us the privilege to be where we are at this juncture. And I do believe that this is an honor, a spiritual honor, that the Creator has chosen to guide us along this pathway for the benefit of humanity. And I wish for all of you, for the rest of your day, to be one of glory and happiness, but more importantly, that you become more aware of who we are and monitor your thoughts and your speech so that this manifestation will not escape you, will not escape any of us. This world is in dire need of righteousness, peace, love, and kindness. Have a great day. Love all of you. See you tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
Take care, family.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye, everyone.
everybody.